Welcome to a coffee chat in a van. This is a little series of videos I do that's just about us getting together and talking about a variety of subjects. And they're not always subjects about coffee, but today I'm going to bring it back around to coffee because of a particular bag of coffee that I just recently bought. And I should say that this is supposed to be a weekly series. That is what I intend to do. I intend to do one of these a week, but I think I missed last week. Pretty sure I missed last week. So I'm not calling this a weekly series today, but I do intend to do a coffee chat once a week. So if you enjoy this little video series, hopefully I'll have another one out next Tuesday. At least that's the plan. Now let's get into today's coffee topic right after I drink a little bit of this before it gets cold. So today I wanted to talk about bargain coffee or bulk coffee. Sometimes I call it commodity coffee. It's just the inexpensive coffee that you'll find in most every grocery store that is going to be the cheaper option of the coffees available. And I normally buy a little more premium coffee, but I'm trying to get away from that. I'm trying to find a little better deal on coffee, like probably you too. My budget is being stretched to the limit at the moment, and so where a few months ago I was okay spending $10 a bag on coffee, I'd like to find some coffee that's a little bit cheaper. So with that in mind, I went to a grocery outlet, which is one of my kind of favorite places to buy inexpensive groceries, and coffee is definitely high on the list there. Although with grocery outlet, it is a outlet store, and so you never really know what you're going to find when you walk into one. And in fact, if there are several grocery outlets in one city, you'll find that they may all have different offerings in each store in the same city. So it's really a toss-up as to what you're going to find in a grocery outlet. But I did go in and find a coffee that looked promising, and that is from a company that I have never heard of before, but I decided to give it a try because it says here that it is a light roast coffee. There's two things that I look for mostly when I'm looking for a coffee. I'm looking for light roast coffee because that's my preference, and I think that everybody should buy the coffee to their preference. Don't go by what other people like, go by what you like, and what I like is light roast, and so that's what I look for first and foremost. The other thing I look for is whole bean coffee. I want to grind the coffee myself because it's going to have more flavor if you grind it right before you brew it. So those are the two things I'm looking for, and this had both of those things, light roast, whole bean. And even though it wasn't a brand that I have heard of before, I figured it would be a good coffee to try. Another thing that I look for is the tasting notes, if there are some on the bag. And here on this bag, it says it's delightfully bright, which is very nice, floral, and with a smooth finish. And I like floral coffee as a descriptor. That's one of the things that I really look for. And smooth, of course, sounds good to me. So I figured this would be a great coffee to try. And this is a 32-ounce bag, and this coffee was being sold at Grocery Outlet for $9.99. So there it hits that $10 price range that I have been kind of holding myself to kind of more recently. And even though it is $10, it is an awful big bag of coffee, and so I thought this looks good, and hopefully I'll like it. Now I have a little issue with this coffee, and again, I do want to say that this is a very good coffee, and I think that if you see this, you might like it. Keeping in mind that most people prefer medium roast coffee. That just seems to be the most popular coffee out there. Now a lot of people like dark roast coffee, but it seems like most people like a medium roast coffee, or at least would be happy with a medium roast coffee. Now I'm looking for a light roast coffee, and that's where this coffee has kind of let me down. When I opened up the bag, I realized that this is not exactly a light roast coffee. This bag is a blend of a number of coffees roasted at different levels. And why they're calling it light roast boggles my mind, because when you look at the beans, there are some that are, yes, light roast, but there are a number that are medium roast and some that are dark roast. And at least to my taste buds, whenever there's a mix like this and there's some dark roast, seems to be that the dark roast overpowers everything else. So I was a little disappointed when I opened up the bag and found that mix of different roasts in the same bag, and that they're calling this a light roast coffee. Now, it is a nice coffee. It's smooth. It does have a little bit of that floral flavor that they're saying, but at least to my taste buds, because of the real dark roast beans in there, that kind of obliterates the floral flavor. I find I get a little bit of that floral flavor while I'm drinking it, but the aftertaste is definitely a little burnt, little charcoaly flavor. And while it's still smooth, still nice tasting coffee, it's just not my preference of coffee. Most people are looking for a medium roast coffee, and if they would have put medium roast coffee on the bag, I think a lot more people would buy this and be very happy with it. Most people are going to see that light roast listed on the bag and pass it right up and just not even pay any mind to it because they're looking for a medium roast or a darker roast coffee. So it seems to me that this company has done themselves a big disservice, because if they would have just wrote medium roast on the bag, labeled it as to what it actually is, probably a lot more people would have bought this coffee and have been really happy with it. Now, if you're looking for light roast coffee, you're going to be a little bit disappointed like me. So it's a little perplexing to me why they would choose to put light roast on the bag when it is clearly not light roast coffee. This is kind of the problem with commodity coffee or bulk coffee, is they seem to not be quite so truthful in their packaging. And I'm not really sure why that is, but you do kind of take your chances when you're buying something new that is new to you. Now, I'm not going to give up on this coffee. I'm going to work through it. It is a good deal on coffee, and it does have a nice flavor, even though it's not the flavor that I was hoping for or expecting to find looking at the label. But I'm happy about the price of the coffee, and so I'm just going to drink it. When I bought coffee like this in the past that was a little roasted a little more than I like, I've mentioned that, and I've had a lot of people ask me, well, why don't you mix it with a coffee that is lighter roasted? And I've found that when I do that, the dark roast coffee just kind of stands out. And to give you a little illustration about that, just in talking about another type of food, if you think about baking cookies, if you've ever baked cookies and you've burnt the cookies, that burnt charcoal taste is going to permeate through, and that's all you're really going to taste is that burnt bottom, even though most of the cookie on top is maybe perfectly cooked. You're still going to get mostly that charcoal flavor. And I think that's the same with coffee. Now, maybe you like that flavor. With coffee, of course, there's a lot of medium and dark roast coffee out there for you to just buy at the store, and that would kind of satisfy that particular flavor profile that you're looking for. Now, I don't particularly like that more charcoaly flavor, and so that's why I tend to look for a light roast coffee. Now, I think I'm going to have a little bit of trouble working through this bag just because it's not my preference of coffee flavor. So I did, in my travels, I did go by another grocery outlet, and I found another bag of coffee from a company that I bought before. And this is a light roast coffee. It absolutely is a light roast coffee, and it's a very good quality coffee. In fact, It's much better than the price would indicate. Grocery Outlet is selling this for $6 a bag. Now, this is a much smaller bag, obviously. This is a 12-ounce bag. By the way, if you can find this at Grocery Outlet, it's a heck of a deal. I looked up online, and this company normally is $15 for the same bag. So if you're going to order it from this company, expect to pay $15. But if you can find it at a Grocery Outlet, it's $6. And I also do have my favorite coffee on hand, which is Groundwork Ethiopian. I really like this coffee too. This is my absolute favorite coffee. This is a really light roast coffee, lighter roast than even this one, which is why I think I like it so much. So I've got some coffees to kind of spell me through, and I'll probably have to open these up and work on them in the meantime of getting through this big bag of coffee. But anyway, I'm pretty well loaded up on coffee, and that's good. Because it's hard to find light roast coffee, and it's hard to find coffee that is a good price. So I'm happy to be loaded up on coffee, but I'm also a little bit dismayed that what I thought was going to be a really good deal on coffee ended up being just a so-so deal. So those are just some thoughts I had here on coffee and bulk coffee and commodity coffee. I do want to just say again that you should always drink the coffee that tastes best to you. If you like a dark roast coffee, that's the coffee you should stick with. That's the coffee you should look for on the shelf and buy. If you like medium roast coffee, there again, that's the stuff that you should be looking for and you should buy. Unfortunately, if you are in the ultra minority of people that like light roast coffee like me, you're going to have a little trouble finding light roast on the shelf, and at least in most grocery stores. And so it'll be a little harder to find a coffee that kind of suits our preference. But drink what you like. Buy what you like, drink what you like, and hopefully these coffee companies will start labeling their coffee correctly so that we will get the most for our money when we are shopping for our daily cup. At least that's my hope. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it.